If you're feeling like your iPhone battery health is crud, that it just doesn't hold a charge the way it used to, well, you're not alone. Even if you have last year's iPhone model, you may notice your battery capacity took a noticeable hit. But it's not happening to everyone. Batteries have been all the buzz at my office for the past few weeks. We are collecting data on each other's battery health, and 2 weeks ago I asked my social media followers to tell me their iPhone battery stats. And the comments were interesting. And it's leading everyone to poke at theories on why some batteries are degrading faster than others. And we're talking about it now because a new iPhone is about to be revealed. Just as you expect from Apple every September, that means folks are looking at their battery health and weighing their options. Do you make the leap and spend money on a new iPhone? Is it worth holding on to it longer and maybe just getting a replacement battery? I'll be frank with you, you don't need one more thing to tinker with on your phone just to make sure it works well. And that applies to charging and batteries, especially when you drop so much money for it. I'm not here to tell you that you're doing something wrong, because you're not. There are just more factors now that could be messing with your battery, and hopefully Apple can address it at the next iPhone event. Let's go over what factors could be changing your battery experience, and just wait until you hear what Apple says is a normal decrease in iPhone battery health. It may surprise you. I'm Bridget Carey, and this is One More Thing. iPhones use lithium-ion batteries, and rechargeable lithium-ion batteries have a limited lifespan. They degrade over time. They will hold less of a charge, and it can also affect your phone's performance. Now, if you want to check your iPhone health, go into Settings and go to Battery. There you're going to see a little chart of your battery usage. It breaks down which apps are using the most juice. But to see how much of a charge your battery can still hold, you want to go click on Battery Health and Charging, and then you can see the maximum capacity of your battery. Mine is at 85%, and my iPhone is almost 3 years old. It is an iPhone 12 Pro. I noticed the battery doesn't last as long as it used to. I carry battery packs for my commute. I personally felt like I had a garbage battery situation, but it turns out I'm actually doing great. Apple says your battery is designed to retain up to 80% of its original capacity after 500 complete charge cycles. That's not exactly the same as saying you charged it 500 times. A charge cycle is when you've discharged an amount that equals 100% of your battery's capacity, but not necessarily all from one charge. Here's an example. Apple says you might use 75% of your battery's capacity one day, then you recharge it fully overnight, and then you use 25% the next day. That is getting to 100. That's discharging it 100%. It's a little messy to calculate, but just figure that it could take a little over a day to complete a charge cycle if you don't deplete it to zero all the time. But still, 500 charge cycles is not a lot for heavy iPhone users. If you use 100% of the battery almost every day, well, that means your battery health is expected to be at 80% capacity in roughly, a year and a half? Is the bar kind of low there? I really meant it when I said that batteries are on the brain this week, because a few tech reporters and pundits also drummed up buzz about how their iPhones from last year were at a lower battery capacity than they expected. The Wall Street Journal's Joanna Stern said her iPhone 14 Pro is down to 88%. Why is her battery almost at my level, and my iPhone is 3 years old? But still, if you go by Apple's range of battery health, it must be in the normal zone, right? So let's turn to the CNET ace reporter who has been leading the coverage of this battery drama for us, Eli Blumenthal. His iPhone 14 Pro Max is at 88% battery health. Same thing, not even a year old, almost at my level. But it's not the same for everyone. CNET iPhone reviewer Patrick Holland has 100% health on his iPhone 14 Pro Max, and that's almost a year old. And the comments I am seeing are also mixed. We got people saying their iPhone 14 models are in perfect battery health, and others said their capacity dropped to around 90%. Okay, so 90%. After a year, it may not be what you expect, but it does seem on track with what Apple is saying is a normal range. Yet it doesn't stop people from getting annoyed. On TikTok, Sam Cole of Apple Track was so worked up about having 90% health on his iPhone 14 that he was calling it Batterygate. He was saying he couldn't recommend this phone. Is this a real Batterygate, or is it that people have a higher expectation of battery performance from Apple when you spend over $1,000 on a phone? And what factors could be different now from the iPhones of years past. Apple has a long guide posted online to help you maximize your phone's battery life and understand what ages a battery. However, Apple went through an actual battery controversy. It was named Batterygate, and it was back in 2017. It just so happens that the old Batterygate story is back in the news this week. iPhone users who are part of a $500 million class action lawsuit against Apple are now getting paid out. The suit alleged that Apple deliberately slowed down its older iPhones to get people to upgrade to the latest model. Apple apologized, said the slowdown was designed to protect older iPhones from shutting down during some tasks if the battery was low, and Apple also offered replacement batteries. The settlement isn't something you can jump into now. That window closed in 2020, but it's reported that there are around 3 million claims, and those people are all waiting for a check, which is estimated to be around $65 a person. It is very hard to pin down factors of why one person has a battery in great health and why someone else doesn't, especially when our environments and work habits can shift throughout the years. Extremes in temperature are said to damage battery life. Don't leave your phone in a hot car. Be careful if you're leaving your phone out in the sun when you're lounging at the pool. It ruins the battery chemistry. Heat is a little hard to escape these days. Apple says your phone should not be in temperatures hotter than 95 degrees, but it's not just heat. Apple gives users the advice to use Wi-Fi when you can, because wireless networks can drain your battery faster. That's funny. When I got my iPhone 12 Pro, it was 2020, when I was at home all the time. Fast forward to now, when I'm using it a lot more on a long commute, a commute where I'm eating up a lot more battery and going through more charge cycles. And not to mention, my phone is absolutely struggling to find a 5G signal as soon as I step foot into any building with walls. My habits are totally different now than when I got my iPhone. There are several articles that you can find that talk about how 5G is a battery drain. You may want to mess with your cellular settings if you suspect that that could help your situation. And what about how we charge the phone? There is so much advice about how you should charge a phone. Folks like to say don't plug it in overnight, don't always charge it until it gets to 50%, but don't charge it past 80%, and wait until Mercury is in retrograde. No! It's not practical, and you shouldn't have to worry about all of that. It's why the iPhone has this nice feature called optimized battery charging. So if you kept it plugged in overnight, it will wait to finish charging past 80% until you need to use it. It keeps the battery a little stronger, a little longer. But putting that aside, the latest iPhone models do have different ways to charge, including fast charging. The faster it charges, the hotter it could get. And are you using MagSafe wireless charging or plugging in a cord? These are other variables. You can drive yourself batty with battery theories, but it's still good to know what variables you could switch up if you're having problems. Smartphone owners are holding onto their devices longer than before, and with good reason. These phones work perfectly fine. They all take good photos. They all let you doom scroll the same. It's why I kept my phone for 3 years. But if your battery is not holding a charge like it used to, you may be feeling like you need to upgrade. That said, there are cheaper ways to fix the problem. If you pay for Apple Care Plus and your battery holds less than 80% of its original capacity, you can go to Apple and they should just replace your battery for you at no extra charge. Now, if that's not your situation, you'll have to pay $89 for Apple to replace the battery. But that's still cheaper than a new iPhone. That said, maybe you want to see what happens in September before you replace a battery. I'm curious if we're going to hear about battery life improvements in the iPhone 15 models, because that's the rumor. That's been out for a while, how a new generation chip could deliver better power consumption. There's also a report that the iPhone 15 lineup could just have significantly larger batteries, depending on the model, maybe 12 to 18% larger batteries. We'll have to see if that's true, but it could mean that the battery is going to be a big factor in upgrades. Share your comments and how your phone battery is doing. When did you get your phone? What model is it? What's the capacity at? And do you plan on hanging on for another year? Thanks for watching. Be sure to charge those phones in time for next week's episode. It hits every Friday. Catch you next time.